4th of July is notorious for scaring horses. So this year we're gonna be prepared and not lucky, and we're gonna see if we can get these horses to be bomb-proof. All right, so that was fun. Now it's time to get down to business, and we need to get this horse prepared for fireworks.
For so many of us, the 4th of July and fireworks go hand in hand, but horse owners,
Heirloom just spooked.
The owner of Vienna Farms in Gorham has to sedate the animals.
Headed straight down for the hayfield and went through the fence. My son
just broke through the fence.
They were so scared, so scared.
So let me tell you quick a personal story that happened to me. So this winter we were in Florida and we boarded our horses somewhere at a farm that we had never been to. We got there a couple of days before New Year's, as New Year's Eve is happening. And the neighbor to where we were staying, they start lighting off fireworks, which just so happens to be right next to where we were keeping 3 of our horses. And so we got home from a New Year's party that we were at with a friend of mine, as you guys know, Jake Beerbaum. So we're back at 10 p.m. The neighbors start lighting off fireworks. The horses are screaming around the pen. There's full body sweat. We're lucky they didn't jump out of their pens. And it was probably one of the most stressful nights of my life. And so I had failed really to prepare them for that level of intensity. And so the point of this video is to give you some strategies. If you know that your neighbor is going to light off some fireworks and it might scare your horse, there's some things that you can do to be proactive. And so as you guys know, I'd rather be prepared than lucky. So we're going to try to break it down into bite-sized pieces. We're going to start where your horse is at and build it up. We're going to expose him to some things that could be potentially scary and are actual fireworks, and we're going to build it up. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this. Let's get into it. All right, so you guys all know what these are. Stick and string and flag, classic tools for horsemanship, okay? So if you haven't already gotten your horse used to these things, this is where you start. So if I'm calm and the stick is fast, he can still be calm. So even though the stick has lots of movement to it, and has a lot of energy, my intention is still for him to be calm. Let's move on to the next one. This next thing, scary feed sack. You take an empty feed sack and you tie a handle off on the end. This is one scary tool. This is a test of how well you prepared your horse with the other tools. I want you to get noisy with it right away, and it is a test. I have never done this particular test with him. Now again, it's a big old bag of air, and he's going, what are you doing here? And I love that his response was to get curious. He did great with that. So next, hey, if you guys would like to see more of the foundation that this horse has received, more of the training sequence that we do, you can check that out on my Patreon page, as well as ask me specific questions about your horse or even submit videos for coaching. We post a new video on there every week, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So go check it out. We'll leave a link in the description below. Let's get back to the video. Okay, now the next tool. This requires some training from the user, okay? So we got 2 stock whips here. This one is a knockoff that you can buy on Amazon for like 20 bucks, okay? This one is a proper Australian stock whip, but let me show you that this one does work. Now, I've never done this with this horse, but I'm gonna swing it around and then I'm gonna crack it. And so my point is, with this cheap little stock whip, anybody could get this and start playing around. It's kind of a fun tool to use. So let's get rid of the cheap one. Let's get on to the good stuff here. We're gonna use this one. So I'm gonna get it swinging. There we go. So this is about getting him used to noise. And I don't know how much the microphone picks up that crack, but it's a pretty significant crack. He's handling this really, really well, so I'm super happy with him. He's doing a great job. We went to a fireworks tent and purchased some fireworks. There we go. Nuclear snaps. So do you guys remember when you were kids and you had these little white, like little popcorn looking things? And you throw them down and they go pop, you know, you throw them at your friends, that kind of thing. Don't actually do that. These ones are like the adult version. So they're these little things they showed me. I told them what we were doing at the tent and they were like, oh, try these. Because you don't have to light them. You can just throw them down on a hard surface and they're gonna make a pop. But this is like, to me, a very easy one that most people could do and kind of expose their horses to some noise. Because when I was a kid, I grew up in the UP, and it wasn't that uncommon that we would go trail riding in the woods and you'd come upon a gun range or people shooting guns in the woods, and your horse had to be used to that noise. And so this is a great tool for getting horse used to that. So let me get him ready, and I'm gonna add a little horsemanship strategy here to this one, which is I'm not going to be standing here and see if he spooks. I'm gonna start moving him around as my dad starts to light off some of these different things, or in this case, just throw them down, and we're gonna see how he responds. What most people think is, oh, just get your horse standing still and just look at the thing, but the problem is the horse is quiet and then something scares them and now they wanna leave. What you'd rather be doing is having the horse in motion and releasing them to a standstill. So if he doesn't give me a significant reaction while he's in motion, I will stand still, let him stand still and look at this while he's going. So I'm gonna get him moving, and then I'm gonna give my dad a cue of when he can go ahead and hit the popper. And then I'm gonna start off a little further away and we can get closer as we need to. Okay, so go ahead when you're ready. Oh, so that had a little bit. Keep doing it. He wants to change directions, he can change directions, that's fine. And I kind of like the pace that my dad's doing it at. It's maybe 10 seconds between each one. There was not really a reaction there. Now Boone's, well, his name is Sir Camelot now. He's wanting to stop, so go ahead and light another one. And we'll see if it triggers a reaction. That was good. So he wants to stand still. Go ahead and do one more just for good measure. Perfect, we'll take that. So that's a really good stepping stone from we got a little reaction there from the stock whip, but he was happy to stand still and face it. Now with those, there's no smoke, there's no fire or sizzle or anything like that. So I feel like those are a really achievable step for a lot of people to use. And again, it's like, why not? If you know you're living by some people who are gonna light off fireworks, you know, there's some other strategies you could do. You could put earplugs in your horse, you could drug your horse, but I'm a trainer. And so if you ask me what I would do if my horse is afraid of fireworks, I'm gonna go through some training and see if I can get my horse used to it. So we're gonna up the ante here. The next thing I'd like to get out is a sparkler. All right, so we got our little sparkler going here. I don't want this to get by him, but I kind of want the smoke to go by him and just see if he is afraid of that at all. You can see him kind of smelling it. He's a little unsure. But overall, I would say he got curious about it more than he didn't really get afraid. So we're gonna be on to the next one. So the sparklers were not a big deal. Now we're gonna get a little more heavy duty into the smoke. So this is a 10-minute white smoke little canister. Everything that I've showed you to this point is very inexpensive. I mean, basically everything until we get to the grand finale. All the stuff that you would use when you're actually training your horse to get used to this stuff is relative, like under 20 bucks for all of it. So this is not a big deal. In other words, this is very achievable. So we're gonna go ahead and light this off, and we're gonna see if the smoke drifts over here. I don't know what it's gonna do. We're gonna go from there. So I'm not trying to make him inhale the smoke in any way or so. I just want him to see it. I want him to kind of get used to the smell a little bit and just kind of see what it's gonna do. He does not seem to be too bothered by it at all. All right. So the next thing we're gonna try is these little, I don't know what they're called, bottle rockets, I guess. And you put them in a bottle, and these ones shoot up in the air. So these are now kind of exposing them, and then they have a bang and a pop up there. So I'm gonna use the same strategy. I've already taught my horse to either do a hindquarter yield or circle me. And depending on what, the reaction of the horse, you would adjust distance, okay? So you could just be further away and gradually work your way closer if your horse is really afraid. But by this point, you should have a pretty good idea of where your horse is at with these things. And again, the point is, I'm not gonna ask him to stand still and then let him get scared once it goes off. I'm gonna ask him to be in motion, and then if he gets scared, I'm gonna keep playing through that, and when he starts to calm down, that's when I'll get quieter and let him just face it, okay? So, I'm gonna have my dad light these off next. When he wants to be calmer with it, then I'll ask him to stand still. But until then, I'm just gonna ask him to keep moving here. So you can see these ones bothered him a little bit. He can't really see it, or it's a little more random. And so this is kind of the perfect thing to kind of get him settled into. Now, I actually think he thinks I'm the one doing that. So I'm just gonna stop here, and I'm gonna see if he can just kind of watch what's happening. And so he actually did better when I just stopped. He was kind of associating me circling him with being worried about it. So we're just gonna kind of stand here. There we go. Or maybe I could even yield his hindquarters. Good job. So the main idea is to find a way to release your horse to the noise going off. And you know, for this particular horse, actually just standing there and letting him face it was sufficient, okay? So there's no rules to this, but if your horse gets afraid, I would say generally most horses moving their feet ahead of time while this is going off and then releasing them to standing still is really going to be the key. Super. He passed the last one with flying colors there. So we have our grand finale now. I think it's supposed to be facing upright. The idea is to prepare the horse and build them up for things like this that might be on the ground, that might be a little bit more. Wow. He's doing so good. So that had a little extra grand finale at the end with some snapping and popping, and he handled it just fine like a champ. I think mostly because we built it up from the ground up. We did our homework. He's got a good foundation. It really wasn't as much about the fireworks situation as it was the preparation that this horse has had leading up to today. So let's be prepared and not lucky. If you have time, prepare your horse, get him used to some basic things, some noises, some crackly things, some of the smoke, and it'll take you a long way, and your horse will be a lot safer when there's a big festival happening and lots of fireworks going off. So thank you for tuning in and watching us. We'll see you guys on the next one.